Good Stories with Aldi Books. So I need to do a Friday Reads, and this is Saturday, so obviously it's the belated Friday Reads version, but that's okay. I didn't finish any more books like I wanted to, but that's okay too. I still have 3 to talk about and some other things I want to mention, so let's jump right in. I did finish the Turkish Lover last week, and this was so good. I am just in love with Esmeralda Santiago. She is one of my favorite authors now. I've only read 3 of her works, her memoir trilogy. I have ordered one of her novels, so I'm really curious to see how I get along with her fiction. But, oh gosh, she is so good at painting a picture of the world that she lives in, her life, reflecting on it. She's one of those authors that's so incredibly insightful that as she progresses through the trilogy, you see who she was then in that moment. So it starts out when she's about, I think, 12 years old in this one, you know, maybe 8 or 9 initially, but most of this she's a preteen. And then her teenage years through junior high and high school. And then this one is as she's become a young adult, 21, and develops a relationship with an older man that lasts for 7 years. And she's just, I can only gush. I can only gush. So When I Was Puerto Rican starts out on the island and moves to the States, New York City, and then through the school system in New York City. And then in this one, she travels all over the country. She lives in, New York, Texas for a while, and then ends up on the East Coast. I don't want to spoil it for you, but highly recommend this. You will definitely see it on my favorites, end of the year. It is so good. And then I listened to Girl at War by Sarah Novik. This one is a girl in Croatia. Her parents are brutally murdered, not even in front of her, on top of her. And her baby sister was sent to the United States with a kind of a medical mission group. So after her parents' murder, our main character ends up in the States as well, with that same family, and they take her on as their adopted daughter. So this is kind of her college years, when she's struggling to come to terms with what she's been through in her past and how that impacts her in the present, and she felt like she never processed it. And you kind of jump back and forth between the current timeline and the past timeline and find out what happened to her. And this one started off really well at first, very intrigued. And then, thematically, she makes a really good point about how here in the States, we've never really had to live through the ramifications of war, like how it affects your everyday life. Sure, we had to rally during World War II to make, supplies available to the war effort. And, she mentions the Twin Towers in this, and, the ripple effect of that, and how, you know, many of us knew people, and so, you know, few people, but the day-to-day toil of living in a war-torn country is not one that most Americans have experienced, and not here. So that was just a really interesting thought to process through. But you know, Sarah Novik is, you know, from the States, and she got interested in Croatia in high school. She did, I think, a study abroad program and lived with a Croatian family. So she kind of shares many of the stories she heard through that and her connections through that. And, you know, it was an interesting read, but it kind of fell flat for me especially in the second half. It just lacked the depth that I was looking for, the nuance. So yeah, so I appreciated reading it, but it wasn't as great as I wanted it to be. And then I finally finished The Great Naturalist, and this is just kind of, you know, it starts out with the ancient Greeks and ends up in the era of Darwin, and just talks about all of the amateur naturalists that kind of paved the way for our modern understanding of the natural world. I thoroughly enjoyed this bit by bit. It's kind of enlightening how, you know, we learned about the natural world, and, you know, quite often it was not quite, like 99% of the time, it was men of means who were able to study, you know, because societal, like, you know, allowed them to, and they had the funds and the free time. And it's just, you know, in the modern era that it's become a profession for the most part. But so in reading this, you know, some of the standout naturalists for me were Alexander von Humboldt. So I read this account of him by Andrea Wolf, and really, really enjoyed it. So if you're interested in reading naturalists, this is a really good one. And then obviously, you know, Darwin. I have this one pulled out to read for Victober. Fingers crossed I get to it. I'm running out of time. So Darwin and the Barnacle by Rebecca Stott. And then I read Remarkable Creatures by Tracy Chevalier. This is about Mary Anning, who is that like 1% that's different, a female of the working class who just, her father collected curiosities and sold them, you know, for funds for the family. And he died young, and Mary kind of took over his business and really had an eye for discovering fossils. This was a really excellent fictionalized account, but I think it was a really good look at who Mary Anning was, and I really enjoyed this. So the other one that right at the end that just captivated, oh, there's Mary Anning. Oh, let me show you that. So here's some of Mary Anning's illustrations. I'm just Mary Anning fangirl now. And there's a portrait of her. Yeah. And so one more naturalist that really captured my imagination here at the end, and he's a really big name. You're going to know him. Where is he? Not Wallace. Although I actually am interested in Wallace now. Wallace was the on the same time frame as Darwin, and kind of came up with the origin of species concept. So yes, here is the other one. John James Audubon. So I, like, in reading this, he seems like such a neat guy, like a stunning artist, and also really naturalist and frontiersman adventurer. So I'm captivated by him and excited to read more. This is one of my all-time favorite paintings. So here's another one, a pelican. And yeah, there's that one. And there is Audubon. So he's a big name here in the States. Anyway, so in reading this, I was just like, oh my gosh, I need a Audubon biography like now. So I went on, I Googled, and I investigated, and then I went on Thrift Books, which is an online used book store. And I found 3. 2 are biographies, 2 biographies, and an Audubon picture book, because like his paintings are my all-time favorite. And I'm kind of hoping that I think it's a bigger book and I can maybe take some out and put them on my wall. But anyway, I found 3, and so long story short, now there are 9 books coming to my house. Yeah. Actually, some are already here, but they're still in the package because obviously we must pretend that they are November acquisitions, because we have the balancing the book game to play. And full disclosure, there's another package under there, which is Hanford Press. Thanks, Mel. That was having a 50% off sale. And so those we're pretending aren't arriving until January. And, it's pretty much killing me to have those new books in the house and not like rip them open and look at them. But so far so good with that. This is my currently reading stack, and I won't go into that because I've already mentioned all of them, I'm pretty sure, and I don't want to like mention the same books week after week after week. So stay tuned, because next Friday I hope to wrap up like at least 5 of those. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I will be back soon. Bye.